What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. And this time, we're going to be taking a look at Kill Bill. Now, I'm going to be reviewing both Kill Bill movies, but I'm going to be reviewing them very separately, focusing on what each movie has to offer by itself. So, without further ado, let's get started with Kill Bill Volume 1, which is written and directed by Quentin Tarantino, starring Uma Thurman. So, my broad opinion on Kill Bill Volume 1. I overall found this movie to be very entertaining. I like both Kill Bill movies. I like Volume 2 a little bit better, but I do like Volume 1 for what Volume 1 has to offer. Volume 1 is the introduction to the Kill Bill storyline. And not for nothing, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I like the character of the bride. I think she is a badass. I think Uma Thurman played her expertly. I love Uma Thurman throughout this entire movie. I thought she was fantastic. I thought she handled her fight scenes very well. Like extremely well. Uma Thurman is like fantastic all throughout this movie, especially in her fight scenes where I thought she just when she's kicking everyone's ass, she looks fantastic. She is fantastic. Vivica A. Fox in this movie, she plays Vernita Green, who is one of the assassins who helped leave the bride for dead in a way. She doesn't have a whole lot to do, but her scene with the bride is very entertaining. They have a house fight, and it's very funny. It's very intense, and seeing those two fight it out was fine for me. Lucy Liu plays the character of Oren Ishii. Her and the bride have a really cool sword fight at the end of this movie, which I thought was fantastic. But in the middle of that, we get this big brawl with the Crazy 88s, who is pretty much Oren Ishii's like group, and they all take on the bride, and it's just a bloodbath of a brawl between the bride and every single member of the Crazy 88 gang. It's very entertaining. It's very over the top. It's very bloody, and it's shot in black and white. But I love it because it's just so over the top. It's just so comic book, and I love every second of it. It's very entertaining, very fun to watch. Like all throughout this movie, the fight choreography for this movie, they're all really well handled. It's all really well done. I like Quentin Tarantino's style and approach to these choreographed fight scenes. He does not cut away from anything. He lingers on it, and you see everything that happens. Quentin Tarantino is one of the best directors when it comes to fight scenes because he doesn't move the camera in a way where he ain't shaking it around like a fucking madman. He lets the camera sit and he lets the fights play out. And I cannot stress how much of appreciation I have, not only when a Quentin Tarantino does it, but when other directors do it in general, because if you got talent, and if you can create an atmosphere, you don't need to shake the camera around to make the viewer believe they're in there. No. Let the camera sit, don't move it, and let the actors do what they have to do, and let them make magic. And Tarantino did that with all the fight scenes in this movie, and I cannot stretch how much appreciation I have for that, because it's because you can actually see what's going on. You can see the over-the-top violence. You can see the stylistic approach he takes to these fights. And it looks fantastic. This movie, it's light on story. It's mostly just an hour and 43 minutes of just non-stop fight scenes. You got some story and some character stuff sprinkled all throughout, but this movie is more about the fighting and the extreme violence and the extreme over-the-top violence. So I can't stress that enough how much I enjoyed that stuff. But what some character stuff that's here, I thought is handled really well. Like I said, I think the bride is a very interesting character. I like how we get some of her story done in flashbacks. When we first see the bride, she's pretty much lying in a pool of blood, who is found by McGraw, McGraw, played by the late great Michael Perks, who reprises his role from Dusk Till Dawn, and a nice little cameo with his son James Parks, so I like all that stuff. I like how we see the bride wake up from her coma 4 years later. Now, the story of this movie, like I said, the bride, Uma Thurman's character, she used to work with this character called Bill and his squad of assassins. She left the squad, and they hunted her down, and they left her for dead, pretty much killing her. No, they killed her, but they ended up leaving her for dead. But unbeknownst to them, they also killed her unborn child. But it's revealed at the end of this movie that her daughter was never killed, and that while she was in a coma, she actually gave birth, and Bill took the child. And of course, that gets more expanded upon in Volume 2, but we're not up to Volume 2, we're still talking about Volume 1. But that's the cliffhanger of Volume 1, is when we find out that the bride's daughter never died as she's still alive. So I like all that stuff, and I like how the bride never finds this out till the second movie, which again I'll get to when I get to it. I think, like I said, I think Volume 2 for me is the better movie in terms of a story because there's more story to it. Volume 1 is about the experience of the fighting, is about the well choreographed fight scenes. You do got great performances, you know, even though Vivica A. Fox is not in this movie a whole lot, and her character ain't that interesting, she still puts on a good performance. And like I said, her and Uma Thurman have a very entertaining fight scene. Lucy Liu, to me, she has the better character of all the villains in Volume 1 because we actually get her backstory told to us in a flashback, which is done in the anime animation style. Now, I'm not a big anime fan, but I do like how they handled the backstory with Oren Ishii in that particular style. It's a nice little homage to like Japanese cinema, so I can forgive it, and I was entertained by it in general. Like the overall production, the overall production value of this movie is fantastic. The cinematography looks phenomenal. This movie is shot like a comic book come to life, and it looks gorgeous. Quentin Tarantino's direction, like I said, it's fluid, it's solid, it's fantastic. The actors, they all do a phenomenal job. Uma Thurman, to me, is the major standout, particularly in this volume, and particularly in this movie. I thought she handles her fantastic. Vivica A. Fox, like I said, Vivica A. Fox and Lucy Liu, they all did fine for what they were given. And that's pretty much maybe. Julia Drivers is in this movie. She plays pretty much Oren Ishii's friend slash lawyer, who is also a protege of Bill. She was fine. She didn't get a whole lot to do. Her big moment is when the bride cuts her arm off and locks her in the trunk. That's pretty much it. But like I said, for what this movie has to offer with all its fight scenes, I thought it did it really, really well. It's very entertaining. And yeah, that's pretty much all I got to say about Volume 1. Like, Volume 1 to me doesn't really have a whole lot to talk about outside the violence because it's not much of a story. However, Volume 1 has something that I do like that Volume 2 did not give me, which is Sonny Chiba as Hattori Hanzo, who is the mentor of Bill and is a retired sword maker who the bride goes to in the middle section of the movie, close to the third act. I thought Sonny Chiba as Hanzo Hattori was very, very funny. I like the bantering he has with his cook, and I like the subduedness he has when he shows the bride his sword collection, and pretty much the bride convinces him to make her a sword so that she can go after Bill. So I like that. I like all that stuff. I thought that was really funny and very, very cool. So yeah, those are my thoughts on Kill Bill Volume 1. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this movie. I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. I like Volume 1, and when I talk about Volume 2, I'll explain why I think Volume 2 is a much better movie over Volume 1. But anyway, those are my thoughts on Kill Bill Volume 1. 8 out of 10. If you like Kill Bill Volume 1, not Volume 2, let me know in the comment sections down below how you rate Volume 1 of the Kill Bill movies. Anyway, my name is AJ Legend. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.